Hello, everybody. My name's Dion Morales, your host of the Gold Squadron podcast. We're coming to you live from episode 247 of the Gold Squadron podcast. Today, I'm joined by Marcel. Take more than a thief. It takes more than a thief to ruin our fun.
Reading is hard.
Yes, it is. Will, co-pilot Hagewood.
Oh, I am already unmuted. Hello.
And Ryan, I'm a stats man, Staniszewski.
A small contribution to LVO in helping not only our podcast and fly better for their cast. You guys did all the real work, though.
We did it together. It takes a village. So, we are live here after having a week, 3 days of live X-Wing. So exciting. It's so exciting. It is great to be to have been in that energy again. It's fantastic. There you go, Will. Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, it was absolutely amazing. So, everybody who was watching live, thank you so much. It was great to have you there. And we're going to talk about the event for sure. But I want to talk about a narrative that had been kind of simmering under the surface. And I feel like we have sufficiently kind of slapped it around. Follow me here. This X-Wing event, this live X-Wing event, had more people watching it than even the last live event we had in 2020. So, the statement I want to make is, with the number of people we had there, we know that all the tickets sold out, even though everybody didn't show up because, you know, different various levels of comfort, which 100% understandable. All the tickets sold out. Nearly 1,000 people watching at its peak. I think X-Wing is alive and well, friends. That's one thing I want to say.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, and it was a lot of pent up. I don't know how to, like, not anxiety, or there was a lot of pent up desire to watch live, like a legit event. At least on this side of the pond. I know that Europe's had a couple for a long time.
You mean an in-person event?
Yes, in-person event. And yeah, it was great. And sorry if my voice is a little weird. I gotta every time I go to Vegas, I come back with like messed up throat. I think it's all the dryness and oxygen.
It's this for me. I think it's all the cigarette junk in the air. I get a little too.
Yeah,
I'm good.
I come back and it's always like
it's terrible.
Drinking like tea with honey. And it's just,
Will's like, I'm fine.
Yeah, I felt great. Better than ever, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I did get tested today just because I was like all sore and stuff.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah,
Yep.
So everything's good. So so far so good.
Yeah, same here. You know, one of the other things I wanted to say, like a big thumb up to the community and everybody who was there, is there was a really strong commitment of like, listen, we're going to be really strict with these rules, but it's going to make it so that we keep everybody comfortable, and hopefully there's no COVID issues that have happened. And it was great to see the X-Wing community stay strong with that throughout the entire event. It was really encouraging. I can't talk about other games, but I know the X-Wing fam, we did it. So love to see that. So today the plan is we're going to be breaking down the top cut lists. Stanny got some stats for us. We're going to kind of start with that. What showed up at the event and what did well. We're gonna talk about our champion and a conspiracy that's bubbling up. There's a conspiracy. I have a picture to show you, everybody. Okay.
Is it really GSP if it's not hashtag rigged?
Hashtag rigged, okay? Our champion was the one and only. Let's go ahead. We're just going to start with this. I want to congratulate him. Daniel Lim, a.k.a. Isophane, is the champion of the Fly Better Open at the Las Vegas Open. Absolutely amazing. Congratulations. Let's get some ISOs in the chat. And if you've been listening to Gold Squadron for at least a couple weeks, you probably have heard the name Isophane. Pretty awesome to know that one of GSP's biggest supporters, if not the biggest supporter, winning and taking down our first big in-person event here in the U.S. Absolutely awesome. Absolutely awesome. So, those of you at home, will do our best, and who are listening only and not looking at pictures, we'll do our best to paint you a picture with our words. But in this picture is a dinner party. People who went out to dinner together. We have all the judges, the streamers, the runner-up, and the champion all at one table. Collusion? You decide. But best part of X-Wing weekend, absolutely, being the fam, hanging out together. It was great. It was absolutely great. All right, Stanny, you got some stats and stuff. Where do you want to start?
I think we should look at overall numbers, right? Faction breakdown. I put this together through a combination of Ryan Farmer having a documentation of lists, and Nathaniel May, who went through, along with maybe a couple other people that actually took those lists that were just those great. And I think you guys were there. They had the physical copies of lists, right? So someone had to take pictures of those,
Yep,
and translate them into YASB links to then input later in the List Fortress. But this was before List Fortress had it available. So I went through, checked all the factions and the ship counts. Those are the two main things we wanted to look at. This is a very interesting small pocket of event meta that we would see, because after this, it's just going to be the brand new rules, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a trend. These are the trends we could see and what could translate further on. So as we can see, our total players is 149. We had Rebels showing up the most, as maybe we kind of expected them to perform the best, but they at least showed up the most. 25, a little over 25% of the entire event. So out of 7 whole factions, one of them occupied 1/4 of the entire Swiss meta, which was huge. Next after that was kind of a tie between the two sequel factions, Resistance and First Order, at 25, with about just under 17% being 16.8. Then we had the Separatist with 12%. We had Empire with about 11.5%. And then we had Scum and Republic tied at the bottom with 8.7% of it being at 13. I was kind of surprised seeing Scum that low, to be honest. I wasn't surprised that Republic was that low, but I was pretty surprised that Scum was low.
I would have to imagine, like, I think the diehard Scum players are so used to having those what we have referred to as extended ships, you know, Chemo Gilas, IG, squad jumpers, right? So the black box format may have restricted that kind of freedom of list building, whereas the sequel factions and especially the prequel factions have almost every ship available to them. Yep.
And from there, I compiled what was in the cut, so their cut rate. We actually saw that the highest cut rate was Separatists, with six people bringing Separatists, representing the top what eventually turned out to be 28 cut. It was 28 because this was a graduated cut, so everyone that was X and 1, meaning 4 and 1, because there were 5 rounds each day, would move on, and they would develop a cut after that, giving anyone buys necessary to finish out the total of what would make sense, which would be 32 in this case. So after that, we had Rebels showing up with 5, but they had one of the lowest cut rates at 13.2 because they had so much taken in the overall event. A bunch of ties in there. Next, we had Empire and Resistance with 4, but Empire was one of the higher representations, at least cut success with 23.5%, 20 just over 23% with Scum, and Republic. Republic actually showed up pretty well. First Order ended up being the worst though, with 12% of successful cut rate, only showing up 3, and none of those 3, if I recall correctly, this isn't in the stats, it's just my memory. None of those 3 even had Kylo.
No, they were 3 completely different archetypes. Those First Order lists is something that we were talking about on stream yesterday.
So I'm sure we'll get to that later in the cut, which is very interesting that the only First Order lists that got in were non-Kylos, and they had the worst cut rate. So whether or not there wasn't enough use of Kylo Silencer and people trying new things out, or some other sauce works.
We may have been wrong. Now, one of the things I wanted to do now, and people want us, they love for us to take our takes from the past and compare them to what actually happened. So if we take a quick peek at our faction rankings from last week, here we'll take a look that way. All right. You know, we were all pretty confident that we thought the Rebels were going to do well. We had 5 of them get in the cut overall, but I think the one that I noticed the most is Marcel's confidence in the Empire. Not because, let's be honest, mostly it was because he was flying Empire, but you know, he accidentally stumbled upon being right, because in the top 4, all the way to the top 4, we had 2 Empire lists right there.
It was not accidentally.
Right. Completely planned.
Yeah. 100% planned.
We'll get into the fact that it's very interesting, the 2 lists that did end up showing. And I think beyond Marcel calling the Empire correctly, I think the rest of us are pretty close or spot on that the Separatists were the other faction to occupy the other half of our top 4.
Oh, yeah, Separatists, they're not going anywhere. And, you know, that's another thing. We also saw a decent amount of variety within the Separatists. I'm excited to actually go through and take a peek at the list here. Do you want to talk a little bit about ship count first, like for the overall event, before we dive into the specific list for the top cut?
Sure, we can do that. A lot of the numbers are pretty similar to what we're used to seeing. 4 ship was the highest taken. Next up was now this was a little more of the surprise. 3 and 5 ship lists had the exact same amount taken at 36 each, occupying at 24, about 24%. Which that's a lot of 5 ship lists. I think that is a definite increase of what we're used to seeing. They usually float closer to around 20%. Once you get closer to 25, this is definitely at some of their peak levels of being brought to events. But everything else, I believe, is a little bit closer. Maybe some of those 5 ships took away from the 2s. The 2s are a little bit low, I think. They normally occupy closer to about 10% and to 15 sometimes. They actually drop down to 8. A lot of people probably concerned about the world of road and trying to say, I'm going to take 2 ships and be able to be okay with no matter what happens, which can be rough. And then everything from 6 to 8 is about average numbers. You're looking at anywhere from 5 or less % across the board. But the cut rate is a whole nother story. Because 4 ship was so heavily taken, it's hard for it to generate a high cut rate as it is, which means it does have the lowest cut rate. Only 6 lists out of the 52 4 ship lists made cut, which is just under 12, or it's at 11.5%. Now it's very easy for the high ship counts to generate a high cut rate because there's so few of them. Example, from 6 ship to 8 ship, it was 40% or higher. It was 40%, 50%, 50%, because you had 5 6 ship lists, you had 4 7s, 2 8s, and you had a cut where half of those 7 and 8s being 1 8, 2 7s, and then only 2 of the 5 6 ship lists that made it through. So while some of them are, not to take away anything from them, it is just, as you look at that number, it's easy to jump to that, be like, wow, that's really good. mostly because there's not a lot there to pull from. But
Right.
we see across the board that there wasn't a pocket. It's not like there was a singular 7-ship list or 2 7-ship lists that were like, all right, we're at the 50%, and then a 6 and an 8 didn't do anything. Across the board, they all had some solid results.
They all
Now, does this
outperformed. They got
mean-
somewhere in there.
Does this mean swarms are going to translate continually once we get all the bump rules and scenarios? I don't know. It's a good trend so far. Should try, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I don't think that it's. I think that I think you were trying to say that it's not statistically significant because there's such few 8 ships, such few 4 ships. I mean, there's 8, 7, and 6. I think it is. I think it is a sign because even if you add those up, they're all. I mean, the 6, 7, and 8 ship lists were basically batting 500, and I was one of those 6 ship lists, and I played Duncan Howard, who made it to the final, and Duncan is Duncan to make the cut. We were played round 5. We were both 3-1, and he eliminated me in a close match. So it could have easily been like 50%, and I'm pretty sure there was other ones that were like that as well. But what I'm saying is, just from what's there, even if you only have 2 ships that brought it, 8, and one of them makes it. Like that's significant. That means that in the current rules, and it's a good meta call. If you bring a lot of ships, you're probably going to do well. You have, at least by the numbers, if you bring 6 or more ships, you're going to have about a 50% shot of making it. So that I think is significant. But that is also something that I don't think will carry over into the new rules with the bump. I mean, you never know, but
I think independent calculating vultures will see an uptick.
Possibly because
that's what I'm
parking
leaning
on
towards.
rocks and they're not moving to bump each other. But like I personally took sensitive controls to avoid bumping myself, and I still ended up like running into myself half of the time.
Okay.
It's just when you have so many ships, it's just really hard to avoid running into yourself. There's just so much out there. It's just a bump train. So I don't think that outside of the droids or outside of ships that have a way of, another example of something that might be able to survive is like the Initiative 1 BB T-70s. That, I'm going to bump. Okay, I'm going to BB myself that way and ensure I don't bump myself or things like that. Other than that, I don't see like the interceptors, the TIE fighters. I think you bring a small block, kind of like that Defender M4. I think you bring like a block of 2 or 3 to just draw fire away, but you don't do the traditional big block anymore. If you're potentially going to take a third of 33% of your health in an accidental bump.
Yeah.
Now, Dion, if you'd like to, feel free. The link that I have in our notes, pass that on to GSP, whether it's in the Discord or in the chat, if you want, to let anyone dig deeper into all the numbers. Since I do have broken out numbers for each day of Swiss, which you'll kind of see an interesting ebb and flow of how things all ended up coming together. But was there anything that you or Will as well, anything that kind of stood out when you look through all the numbers?
So, I mean, the fact that we did have one of the things that has been pretty consistent, it was mostly with these separatists swarms that you usually don't see too many of them brought overall. And they usually do well. I mean, it goes back to what we were saying, or what Marcel was saying. It's like, hey, you bring a lot of ships, you got a good chance. But there is that, obviously, not everybody who brought a bunch of ships make it into the cut. You got that variance. Maybe you're losing a bunch of ships. But we had the players that did make it in. They have a balance of, a good list calls, good set of tech within themselves, and an understanding of how to fly those ships. I would guess, nobody, you can't just go and say, all right, seems like swarms are good, let's take it and go win. That sounds like a bad idea. You need to probably should practice a little bit before you try to take something like that to an event.
Yeah, that's what from taking this data and mixing in with what I saw there. The people who are running swarms, like most notably Paul Olsen and Isofane, is the two that I know who have been. I mean, Paul Olsen's been running vulture swarms since way back before 2019 Worlds, where he done very well with it. Same thing to Isofane. Isofane's been running this seer droid swarm. I mean, variations of it, right? But ever since the network calculations, independent calculations released, I noticed that he's been trying different things with it, practicing, studying it, and this information is telling me that those who are still committed to big numbers and big swarms and are comfortable doing it can still find success no matter what the meta is. As long as this old saying of fly what you know, these people are still doing it and still finding success with it. So that would be my big takeaway from it. As far as, like I said, like mixing that kind of information. I think the biggest surprise for me, though, is, the bigger, people still utilizing the 2-ship build, which I find very interesting, because for a long time we were saying that the numbers are going up and up and up, right? We were floating more towards over 4 as being the average. So it's very interesting that we got both ends of the spectrum, even though we were saying the middle is more consistent. So very interesting there.
All right. Well, I think it's a time we've been waiting for. Let's go ahead and start taking a look at these lists. We're going to be starting with our overall winner. We're starting at the top and going from there. Let's go ahead and we're going to take the Yasby look here for this one, just because it's so many ships. Right there, Daniel Lim's champion squad. All right, there. Let's go ahead, break it down. We have, you know what? Ryan, you are our resident sworn player. I think you should have the honors. Go ahead, take it.
So we have Captain Seer with Solus 1 and Pervium plating and opting for K2B4 for the tactical relay, the 5.1 that says, while defending, you may spend a calculate to add and evade unless the attacker takes a strike. Being that there's independent calculations available, that makes these droids potentially very defensive, on top of, and we'll get to it, the fact that there are 3 separatist drones that have also Discord missiles. So you also have the ability to spend your calculate for Discords and still have a calculate on your ship to spend for, say, K2B4 or spend for Seer's ability. Usually, we're used to seeing a lot of these droid swarms not be able to have a lot of resources to spend their own calculate for these special abilities, but with independent calculations on all of his separatist drones, he's got 2 more with grappling struts and independent calculations. All of them got struts, 0 cost, as we should know. And then to top it off, his final droid is the Vulture DFS 311 with just independent calculations, who is I1. So he's got an I1, I2 Seer, and then the I3 drone. So he's got to maneuver very particularly to make sure that they all don't get in each other's way, because he's got some of the supporter ships at a lower initiative that generally kind of backline sometimes to make sure they keep their support instead of being focused on. But DFS 311, passing that calculate to whoever Daniel M. Isofane feels like needs it the most, that could stack 3 calculates to do Discord missiles, K2B4, and Seer on a singular droid in 1 round if he felt the need to.
And right there in the chat, Isofane, echoing what you're saying there. DFS 311 is the hero of the squad. His ability, let him toss a calculate to the ship that needs it the most. Yeah, I mean it's super efficient. It was really cool to see how he flew it. And I remember Will, I think we were commentating a game together when he played in Galaxies, where he found that rock where it was a spot to just be the quarterback and just be like, all right, who needs it? Yeet.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, the combination of grappling instructs and independent calculations really helps him out. So that way he's not kind of left all alone. But really, what I like about it is because Seer is a big investment and is investing in K2B4 as well, without 311, that Bulbaleb couldn't use either one of those abilities. So I don't think we caught it on camera, but being able to like sling Seer a defensive calculator, even if he's got one lined up in a bullseye, he could use his own ability, which I think is very helpful.
That's true. I actually didn't remember that was a thing that he could do. That is also very helpful for himself. That 3-die attack crack shot for himself, or 4-die if it's range 1.
And Daniel reporting that for him, Captain Seer was a tank. Never went down in any of his matches. Completely undefeated. Not a scratch. I mean, maybe a few scratches, but at least he didn't explode. That's absolutely awesome. Now, whenever we see a list win an event, there is usually an uptick of people trying it. Now, I know that this event was X-Wing 2.25, right? We're transitioning into 2.5. We're going to have scenarios around the corner. I know that there is the Sith Taker Open coming up in a couple weeks. Whenever we see a list win, there's usually an uptick of people trying it. I don't know if I would recommend somebody taking this on a whim. Is where I'm trying to get to. I wouldn't just try to go win some games with this. Try it out first. Absolutely awesome squad. Has a lot of tools, but if you're not, and I think probably what lives and dies for this squad is if you lose your actions, you're gonna be. It's gonna be a bad day.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Will.
I was just going to build upon that. Is that normally we see these vulture swarms, especially the network calculation ones, very boxy, very huddled together. And I think in the matches that we saw Isofane fly this weekend, he was doing like either pairs or small groups and really spreading out, taking multiple lanes to prevent himself from just getting all blocked all at once, and be able to open up the blue maneuvers. Because they have so few to actually clear the stress, you need to make sure that those lanes are going to be open. You're saying though, Ryan?
So, and I also saw in Isofane was only streamed once or multiple times. I'm going to make sure.
One time.
He
was it twice?
What was our top 4 game? Because it wasn't Duncan.
You're right.
Yeah. So it had to be 2 games.
So it was twice. It was twice.
Yeah, I was like, Duncan doesn't do stream unless he's in finals. That's right. So I did notice a few times, if people are looking to pick this list up, don't feel forced or think it's always the right choice to do the independent calculations. There were plenty of times I saw Daniel utilize the barrel roll link to calculate, really good link to use for the droids, or take those locks when you have the capability. I saw in the game he played against the Imperial Aces in the top 4, it was only the first turn where they were like kind of breaking off from their first engagement and separating, and not really disengaging, but trying to get back around. He wasn't trying to like take the calculates. As long as you know who they want to get, who their target is, which if they're in the back line past the swarms, it probably is DFS 311 or Seer. Take those advantage locks while you can. Know that you have other actions other than like, just because I have independent calculations, I need to be spamming my double calculates. It's not correct all the time.
And I think that's one of the other reasons, one of the things that I really liked about Daniel's play in this tournament. In the two games that we saw, one versus Jesse Van Wink and one versus Duncan Howard, there was some 50-50 decisions with, all right, what ship is he going to go after? And in both cases, if I'm remembering correctly, I remember once it seemed the positioning like he was going to be able to chase after Jango Fett in the final, and he turns everybody into Maul, and it has that opportunity to take Maul out. And I forget which one of the aces he did that to as well. I think it was Vader, Darth Vader X1, where he was able to come around and just turn the entire swarm on it when Jesse had kind of set up a kiting, like, hey, come chase Soontir. It's going to be fine, I promise. You'll catch him, right? And not falling for that. That is some high-level player decisions to be able to realize, I'm not going to chase when I can just get the guy who's probably going to be a lot closer to shoot. So that is Daniel's list. Congratulations again to Daniel for getting the dub. Absolutely awesome. Let's go ahead and keep looking at some lists. So our runner-up, Duncan Howard, with another Separatist squad. Separatists on top today at this list. Isofane says, Dion, you give me too much credit. Hey, fam, you made the right decision 2 times. We were talking about it in the booth. We're like, listen, don't chase this ship. Go over here. You did it twice, and that's why you won. Because if you would have chased Duncan, if you would have chased Jango Fett into the corner on the turn where you turned into Maul instead, you would have lost the game. Flat out. I think you would have lost. So, it worked out, baby. All right, here we go. Marcel, what did Duncan bring?
So Duncan brought a 2-ship Separatist list. He's got Jango Fett with Lone Wolf, Count Dooku, proton bombs, and then he brought Darth Maul with Hate, proton torpedoes, Palpatine, and General Grievous, and that's it. But that Hate and Palpatine combination is really good. The side that gives stress, so after you defend, you can spend the force to give a stress. So basically, when somebody shoots you with Hate, you don't care how much force you have because you're just going to recoup it, and then you just give that person stress. So with a ship like Darth Maul that has a hard time escaping or surviving constant fire, by keeping everybody stressed, it basically gives you a couple turns to be able to get behind them and just keep the opponent a little bit predictable because of they're stressed. They can't turn, and it has enough life to where they have to do that consistently. So it makes Darth Maul for that one agility ship. It just makes Darth Maul very survivable, and of course it hits very hard because it's attacking at initiative 5 with proton torpedoes, can potentially attack twice, and is rolling around with 4 force. So you can just move, target lock. You have 4 force available to you. If you roll your torpedo well, then might as well just spend the 2 force to shoot again, because if they shoot you back, you're just going to get all that back anyway. So you're not. It's one of the few ships that will not be force starved the entire match. And then, of course, Jango. With the fall of Zam, I think everybody knows, or everybody at this point has seen the value of Jango and how good that ability is. It's I know when I played him on Friday, that was at the top of my head every single turn. It's like blue maneuver, blue maneuver, blue maneuver. That and constantly being stressed from Palpatine. That's kind of a gimme. But yeah, really good 2-ship list. And to me, it feels like a really good 2-ship list that we'll probably see a lot of with the new rules. Again, we don't know the scenario play, but from my understanding, the scenario play is basically just encouraging engagement. And
Killing stuff's still good.
Yeah, and if your idea is, okay, I'm going to go collect these points over here, and you get nuked by a proton torpedo, I think the one that that survives is still going to be the one that wins at the end, even with any of those. So really good list. I think it'll only get better with the Mando and all the other new toys that are coming out in the next month or two. So I'd expect to see more of it. Now, similar to Isophane's list, this is not something that you are going to just pick up and do well with. You've got to have some experience with it. I remember Duncan was flying the double what are
Double infiltrators.
Yeah, the double infiltrators, and doing well with that. So he's had experience and practice with lists like that. So he's and also it's Duncan. He's pretty good with most things. Not everybody has that an innate ability to just pick up something new and be good with it pretty quickly.
I think one of the two main points that kind of stood out when I talked to him online throughout his experiences in the event is that that Palp crew was massive in a lot of matchups, because what it will do is when people want to K-turn or turn back around to shoot at Maul, they can't. They're stressed. So Maul gets to do the best maneuvers is 5K to make sure he gets behind, starts chasing behind the things. And even ships like Vader does not want to be stressed. That Palp crew has been one more of the key aspects to defeating other Defender Vaders that want to just burn down Maul. And the Count Dooku crew, because Duncan, because he has a medium and a large base ship, is bringing gas clouds and just making sure that, not likely to roll the crit, so he'll still get his action over clouds, so he'll just get strained, which isn't too bad for a very healthy Maul and a Django who still gets to boost, who might get out of shots. But he said he had a game where he got the crit ion on a Rey and Poe in the same game. That had to go over clouds. I mean, when you can guarantee it, that's a sad time.
Yeah, I never thought about using those gas clouds offensively with Dooku like that.
Yeah.
That's pretty spicy, actually.
I mean, it is. If you think about ionizing a large base ship, it's just a large base ship that's ionized in most situations will just be completely out of commission for a while. And depending on where that debris is, might not even be able to get back in the game without getting off the board.
Yeah, could be a death sentence off the board, or could be another one straight right onto another obstacle that actually stops it from shooting.
Dirty.
Oh man,
Disgusting.
Dooku just following you around to be like, and you're ionized, and you're ionized. Like, oh. Sounds terrible.
Pro tip: don't hit the obstacles. All right, there it is. But yeah, absolutely agree. The combination of those two gives a lot of control. And I want to talk a little bit about Maul in this setup here. It's a pilot. Bonus attacks are good. We know that from Zam, right? But one of the powers against high ship count list is we actually saw Maul do it to Daniel, if I'm not mistaken. He was like, proton torpedo, that ship is dead. Bonus attack, that ship is dead. You have the potential with low health, low agility ships like Vulture droids. If you get the right rolls and you have the mods available, which he's got the Force, he's got Lone Wolf out there, you could do a lot of damage. You could clear a couple ships a turn. And I think my understanding of the list, at least, is Maul's job is to make sure that you get his points worth, which I think was 97. Get 97 points worth of stuff or more, ideally more, dead, and Django cleans it up. Because that's what fire sprays are great endgame ships. With one agility, Darth Maul will go down. But man, really, really awesome. And yeah, Isofane confirming he did kill 2 vultures in a single turn with that double attack. So you watch out. That has a lot of teeth. And I think one of the reasons we haven't been seeing it is because you have to commit a chunk of points, nearly 100 points, to that Maul. And if you don't have a good pairing, which Django is a great one, he's going to die. Like, you can't. Darth Maul cannot, in my opinion, be the main part of your list. It is support, in a way, to get you to the end game, because it doesn't have an end game, really.
Yeah, he's your Janors. I mean, he's the one that's going to be out there and cost that spike damage. And eventually, when you get rid of that spike damage and those, by then, the core of your list is what's going to win the end game, and that's I think that's what you're trying to say. It's just it's not the core of the list. It's hard to say that out of 97 points, but it's not.
No, it's not. I know. It's like the math makes it feel like, what? It's not my end game ship? No, it's not. It's a bridge. It's a bridge to where you got to go. All right. Now let's keep it going here. We're going to start moving a little quicker through these. In our top 4 spots, we have 2 Imperialists. Doug Howe bringing that's Darth Vader. Rod clicked on the wrong one. Vader in the Defender and a bunch of those Academy TIE Fighters. This was a list that we also saw Tyler Tippett bring as well. I'm not sure if anybody else brought the exact same list, but proving that it does have some legs. It does have some legs, but just like anything else, it can fall to variance. And we did see Tyler play a game. We didn't get to see Doug play on stream, but we did get to see Tyler play. And you could see how strong Vader Defender could be, but when people be rolling natties 3 turns in a row, that can make Vader pretty sad. But it ends up happening, but it's a solid list. You got Vader, who's your main punching power, and the Academy pilots are trying to get Vader to the end game. Right, that's your end game piece. So really solid list. Would love to pick Doug's brain and talk about some of his matchups later on. Then we got Jesse Van Wyck bringing an Imperial squad that. Let me back up. People told me, I heard on the internet that Imperial Aces were bad now because of Road. Was it all a lie, Will? Was it all a lie?
No, they are, turns out, just as good as ever. Or can be, anyways. They can be just as good as ever.
I don't think the internet lied. I think they were just wrong.
Got him.
Fair.
made too strong a prediction too early.
All right, Will, can you go ahead and break down that list for me?
All right, so these Imperial Aces, that is Soontir Fel with Predator and Shield upgrade. Loves those bullseyes, so Predator natural pairing there. Darth Vader with Afterburners. It's the only thing holding him back is the lack of boost action because he hits like a truck. Then the piece I questioned all the time, but Jesse was flying them to the best of the that Jesse can bring is Duchess and the TIE Striker. Got Predator because the ship doesn't have a target lock, so why not double modify? Then Fifth Brother and Shield upgrade to keep it on the board longer. We normally end up doing like evade and then rely on the force point for another defensive modification when getting shot at. But Jesse was doing a great job. The ability for Duchess to turn on and off those ailerons, especially before like fast maneuvers or sloops, right? Can really change the position of where that front arc ship is going to be. I go back and forth on Duchess. I'm glad to see that it did very well, but that's not the third ace I would have chosen.
It's definitely a different style. You have to, Jesse, we got to see him play twice on stream. You gotta be cagey. You gotta be cagey with Duchess. Most of the time, her action is evade unless you know for certain nobody can shoot at her. If one person could shoot at me, I'm taking an evade. And you have the force there to hopefully back it up. You ain't taking any risks with that. And one of the things that Jesse talked about when I got to talk to him a little bit was normally when I actually built out his list on Yasby just without thinking about it too much, I actually had put proximity mines originally instead of shield upgrade accidentally. And it's like, dude, normally I was flying with proximity mines, but I just can't. He's like, I can't take the risk anymore. I like the damage on it. We're just gonna go with the shield upgrade. And he said the shield upgrade had been money, absolute money, and he's not trying to bid anymore. So it's one of those he'd rather keep the health there, and keep Duchess around as long as possible.
You mentioned that, actually. That's one thing I wanted to talk about for the Imperial Aces. This list would have never brought those 2 shield upgrades in the past.
Nope.
It would have that upgrade would have been better as a bid. Every matchup, well, maybe not every matchup, but every tournament, it would have been better as a bid. So it's interesting to see where those extra points fall in these triple aces list, or what kind of extra tools you can get for these ships.
Lots of toys. So at this point, we got 2 different versions of Vader. We had Defender Vader and X1 Vader show that, hey, still alive and well. Next, we got Brian Lindemood bringing some scum jank. Shout out to Belindamood in our chat, who was there, who learned that Greedo doesn't work the same way in 2.0 as it does in 1.0. It only took him 4 years to figure it out, but it's okay. It's all right. Marcel, what did he bring here?
Yeah, so he brought Bosk with marksmanship and Greedo and jamming beam, Deadman Switch, and Houndstooth with the Nash the Pup, and Deadman Switch on the Nash the Pup as well. And then he also brought Tel Travera with Cutthroat, Jamming Beam, Contraband Cybernetics, Hull Upgrade, Punishing One, and R5 TK, which is the one that allows you to shoot yourself, if I'm not mistaken. And then
shoot your friendly ships, yeah.
Yeah, shoot your friendly ship. And then Fen Rao with Predator. So I just want to know, how often did stuttering. How often did Tel Travera kill Bosk or Nashta in order to guarantee a damage on something, especially because they're initiative 4, so you can shoot with Bosk. Bosk is, if you're playing against like an initiative 6 or something like that, initiative 5, you shoot with Bosk, you get that out of the way, it's gonna die. So just go ahead and take your shot with what's his name? Take your shot with Tel to guarantee the kill on like the damage with the Deadman Switch, or just to do a lot of damage. And then the other question I had is, when Nash the Pup comes out, being that it's same initiative, it doesn't engage.
So the first question was, Brian knew of that plan when we were talking about it. He was like trying to do the R5TK ability, where someone's like, oh, I don't want to kill the pup because it's at 1 health and I'm at range 1 of it. Or another situation where, say you have like a squirrely ace who was refusing to get into range 1 of the YV666 box. But then in engagement, you deploy the pup into range 1 of it. I don't think he ever actually pulled that off effectively. But I know that he always had it on his mind. Actually, the games we saw, the pup survived both times, which I thought was awesome.
And did some work.
Was killing ships as
Dude,
well.
he was
awesome.
It's still a Z95. It's a fully functional 3 health Z95.
3 health, yeah.
So
so what was your other question about firing?
Yeah.
Okay, so if Bosk has not engaged yet, he is allowed to fire. So if I'm first player and initiative 4 and I kill Bosk, he can deploy and shoot. But if I'm I don't know, initiative 3 and kill Bosk, the pup can't come out and shoot me
So
then.
basically, the way it would need to work is if somebody's behind Bosk, Bosk has no arc to shoot at anybody.
Right.
You can kill Bosk yourself, force him to, take Nashta out of the back, and basically shoot that way.
Yeah, you can do that, or
That
for
way,
like
because you don't have
like
arc
an
for
I5.
that way, so you just go and
Sure, I
going
mean,
out
most
of
of
the
the time, the enemy is just going to do that for you. You won't need R5 TK, but it does allow, like, say, an I6 Arc Dodger, like those Soontiers or Duchesses or something, sneaks in and gets behind Bosk. You can deploy out the back and get a shot back on them then as well. And I think we had a long discussion about Dead Man Switch. I think Dead Man Switch triggers the moment you get the damage cards and the pup comes out before you're removed. So you don't actually damage your pup from the explosion. Even though that picture, the awesome picture of it, would seem like the explosion would go off after the pup comes out of it, but no, it's actually before.
Oh, especially like the pup can only come out with emergency deployment, so it has to take a damage due to those rules. So it comes down a shield.
I guess that's true. It
yeah.
is blowing up, and it does hurt the shields when it comes out. So that's
it
fair.
hurts the hull, isn't it? A damage card.
That's first edition.
Oh, not anymore.
It
No,
used to be. Now it's a critical damage, but the pup has shields. So if you're like a TIE fighter coming on a Ganzadi or something, sure, you're going to take a face-up damage card.
I would suggest, if you don't know your emergency deployment rules, check out our X-Wing Quick Tips. Was one of our first episodes of that we put out. I will tell you, it was November 2018. Published that one. All right, check it out. YouTube.com.
I'm pretty sure like 90% or more of the audience need to be reminded everything about the docking and emergency deployment rules during any game with this on it.
Well, there you go.
Facts.
So that was Brian's list. Super cool to see the pup out there. It's the first time that we have seen a docked Z95 have any value in a list and do this well. I was extremely excited and surprised.
He's not so much of it. He was putting upgrades on it.
That's right. He spent points. It was already cheap. It's like, I need to make it a little more expensive. Just a bit. Wow. So watch out for those Nash Top pumps, man. They can bite you. They can bite you for sure. All right. Now we're going to continue the top 8. We had Sean here. Sean bringing our first order list on our top list of lists. What do we got here, Will?
All right, so this is a modified malware with the points changes to the FO cadets, the first order fighter. I guess there's first order. I mean, anyways, the regular TIE FOs. That's what I think they're called. When they went up in points, it changes around a little bit, but the main part is Commander Malorus giving out rerolls and strains to ships or friendly ships around it who rolls a blank. The twist in this one, though, is sneaking in a silencer, that Synart Jameis engineer, in addition to the 4 other cadets. Sean was talking about where I was like, oh, well, are you rocking like sensitive controls so you can kind of like avoid the other I1s? And he mentioned that no. The coordinate on Malorus being able to double reposition at I5 was far more valuable. And that's some pretty interesting thinking as well, because that is the in-game ship. I guess it would be the in-game ship, far more than Malorus or any of the individual cadets. So being able to keep it safe, being able to arc dodge with that board information was very helpful. Plus, you're getting a 3-die gun in there as well to really bust through some of those defensive token stacking ships like Vader Defender or I don't know, say Lone Wolf Django.
Yep. So really cool to see another swarm archetype do really well. Sean Quinn making it into the top 8. Now we have the next iteration of Darth Vader showing up in our top cut here in our next list. Go ahead and take it, Ryan.
We have the very rarely seen double Decimator list. One of the 2-ship lists that made into the cut. We have the most commonly taken Rear Admiral Shiranu with Ruthless, Moff Jerjerrod, Novice Technician, your Darth Vader crew, proton bombs, and hull upgrade. A couple things to really point out here that's kind of out of the norm. Now with no bids, we can put as many stuff and go up to 200. I'm, though, pretty confident to say that 2 points of Novice Technician, which is also on Oiken, saved these ships, like, pretty hard. Because there's some crits that are really, really bad on Decimators. Your damaged engines, your weapons failures, your damaged sensor arrays. Those are pretty bad, and these ships do not like wasting their actions on those cards.
No.
Hull breach is terrifying on these things. Want none at all. So I think it's actually, like, even though it's only 2 points, it was never taken before. It's sneaky, really, really good for these ships. And then we had Oiken, who ran Intimidation. So one last hurrah for Intimidation. As we know, AMG has mentioned they are banning Intimidation because of the new bump rules. Seventh Sister to provide that force point also for Oiken, but also Seventh Sister's effect is still pretty good. Novice Technician, like I mentioned, also proton bombs, also hull upgrade, and Dauntless was actually on Oiken instead of Rack. And then combined together, when you have both those ships, and normally a lot of people kind of miss the heydays for people who played it or watched it of the Decimators having boost. You can have boost, you just got to put the crew Moff Jerjerrod in there, but it's a system phase boost. But as we see more and more, these system phase reposition actions are still really valuable, and a big base with boost is significantly valuable. You just got to plan out what maneuver you're going to do after that system phase more effectively to get the most out of it. Now, I know we had Andrew on stream once when he faced Jesse with the triple aces. I thought that game started pretty good for Andrew with the double deaths. He'd taken out Soontir early, but Jesse played an extremely good range 3 controlling game to pick away, do the Fifth Brother crit, do the Vader crits on these Decimators. I wonder if Andrew had a different flight path against some other ships, because he did decide to keep both arcs pointed forward and back and run them kind of close to each other. I wonder how often he may have tried pointing the Rear Admiral Shiranu arc out the side, kite, while Oiken kind of slams in forward and back. That's at least something that I think would be more effective, but obviously he flew it to success anyway. So
it might be the problem with Moff Jerjerrod. You do have to both boost using the same template, so it'd probably be easier if you're just doing the same
flight formation
lane, if that makes sense. So
yeah, one of the cool things that we got to see was him do this with Moff Jerjerrod and the maneuver, this big sweep of the Decimators. There was in the opening, it caught Jesse off guard. He caught Soontir, I think it was Soontir, and almost took him out in the first turn.
No, he died. Yeah.
No, he did die. Okay, it wasn't an almost.
2 shots.
All right.
It was 2 shots and gone. Goodbye, Soontir.
The plan there, the Decimators, if they felt like they came out of nowhere, they just whoosh, they were there. And in the chat here, Paul Olson is a squad mate of Andrew Sherrill, saying that in testing he was thinking either Novice Technician or Agile Gunner, and it turns out that Novice Technician was way better. So because do you remember, Will? Some people were like, why isn't he taking Agile Gunner? It got him all the way into the top 8. So
Agile Gunner
must be good.
Well, I mean, both of them just provide an extra action, basically.
Yep.
And that's because these ships rely so much on their reinforce to keep them, healthy long term. They need to get as many extra actions as possible.
Yeah. So I played against Andrew. He was the second game. Well, he was the first game that I lost. Duncan was the second game. So it was my first loss, and yeah, that like you said, that boost and then bank in, the range was more than I expected. So that gets a lot of range, and he did fly him against me. Like he put him in one corner, and then he kind of flew them together with the arcs pointing forward. And funny enough, I made a really bad mistake, like mental mistake on that one. So I did in the first round, I ignored Oiken and shot at Rack. He was reinforced, so he didn't take too much damage, but it was still into the home. And I did a crit. I did a damaged engine, so it turns around.
Yeah.
And he risked it. He's like
The novice technician roll, yeah.
And he rolled a hit, so he fixed the damaged engine into a hull breach. So he had to flip a hull breach, and then I tried to get too cute and be like, "Oh, you're not gonna shoot me anymore." And the next turn, I only shot him with 2 ships to not really take advantage of the hull breach, and he ended up fixing it again with novice technician instead of just like coming in. But yeah, I thought that was funny, like fixing damaged engine into a hull breach. He was like, "Oh my god!" So yeah, it's a really, really it does a ton of damage because Oiken is target lock and Seventh Sister almost every turn, and then of course Rear Admiral is just putting out a ton of damage with a bunch of crits. It's a super, and the amount of hull. What is that, like 17 hull on each?
On each.
Yeah, that's a ton
Chonk.
of damage. Like even for and reinforced a lot of the time as well. It's just really hard to chew through.
So right there, we have here we go. We have one more top 8 list. I'll go ahead and take this one. Matt Carey, one friend of the show, and one of the Midwest scrubs out of the Arch Alliance. Another completely different squad, and let's hit that in a minute here. We got Luke Skywalker tossing out the ion torpedoes and of course S foils. You got Kanan Jarrus. This is Kanan in the VCX 100. Okay, and then you also had Ahsoka Tano as well. And in our current meta, what we had been seeing, we've been seeing a lot of Ahsoka. Luke is kind of a ship that pops in and out of lists. Wedge has been more preferred by most people. But to see the VCX 100 in combination with Luke and Ahsoka, all these 3 Force users, Matt was able to do some work. He was able to do some work. He ended up losing in the top 8 to the eventual champion. Hey, if you're going to lose to the champion. And I that's the wrong Ahsoka. Wrong one. One more time. Sorry about that. There you go. But the amount of force available in this list, then Kanan being able to use stability while a friendly ship in your firing arc defends, you may spend 1 force if you do the attacker rolls 1 fewer attack die. Got used a lot. So and Kanan out there with the 4-dice gun, able to take big swings. And one of the weapons that we saw, the one game that we did get to see Matt play, he utilized all of the ion weapons that he brought. He had ion missiles on Ahsoka, ion cannon on Kanan, and ion torpedoes. And using that, he was able to, in addition to with Kanan's ability and reinforce, he was able to use it to make sure that the opponent had less shots on Kanan, because one of the liabilities there is the 0 agility, similar to the Decimators, and was able to just have something to punch through and keep the ships alive. You're taking away range bonuses, and so of course Ahsoka out there at initiative 5, giving Kanan with some better information at a higher initiative, an additional action if you need to. Really solid squad there from Matt Carey. The ion control plus big punching, defensiveness of Luke, super good.
I'm surprised we didn't see more ion control. I mean, Matt was laughing about it when we were talking. I'm just like, all the dial peeking is banned in this tournament, but you know what's not banned? Making people do a one forward. Turns out I know what's on your dial because I made it so. I think that's a just genius level combination of pilots, right? Because like, yeah, I can say Ion's good, but like this list utilizes it effectively.
Yeah, and I think on top of that, you're having pilots that gel together in ways that some people may not think normally, where you have, once you do provide that ion control, now you have the ability for that VCX to successfully, if the ion goes past, hop over with a 4K, or at least know where, like you said, where a ship's going to be. But also Kanan's ability, a lot of time the reason Luke gets burned down is people providing more dice over the dice defensively that he can create. Kanan's ability limits that potential because, as it says, while a friendly ship in your firearm defends, you can spend a force, and the attacker rolls one fewer die. And you say, okay, I'm going to shoot Kanan. If you shoot Kanan, he has Magva Yarrow crew, which has been a crew that we have not seen used effectively in a long time because there's not a lot of Rebel ships that want to add the cost of Magva on there. Because a lot of them tend to be higher initiative, so you don't get the value of Magva until later. But Magva Yarrow saying after you defend, if the attack hit, likely to hit against the VCX, you may acquire lock on the attacker. Now you have a lock double force shot back at you with 4 dice.
That's gonna be a bad day.
Ion turret, or an ion turret that's really well accurate. That it's also really sad to get ion, like we mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely awesome. So with that, just looking at the top 8, VCX Ion Control Squad, double Decimators, Malrus Swarm, kind of like a scum mix, Imperial Aces, Vader Mini Swarm, Fire Spray Plus, and a Separatist Swarm. 8 completely different lists to make it into the top cut. Really cool to see such a breadth of different lists here. Now we're gonna go speed round through the top 16 for some other really cool stuff. And even through this top 16, you're not gonna see too many. There are gonna be some repeats, but not as There's still plenty of variety. Here we go. Let's get ready to hit the gas. Ryan, you start us off.
All right, we got Alex Farley running double fire spray, Koshku with 000 seismic charges, rig cargo chute, hull upgrade, Marauder, and BT1. Boba Fett with Lone Wolf, seismic charges, hull upgrade, delayed fuses, and Slave 1. Double fire spray is good, still good in Scum, and you have Boba Fett. It's hard to knock against it. Koshka's a mini Boba when things are stressed. There's a lot of things that like linked actions, therefore stressed.
I'm the Boba now. Marcel, take the next one. William McDavid in our top 16.
All right. Brought a separatist list with General Grievous, Composure, and Imperium Plating, and a soulless one. Zam with the Zam Fire Spray with Composure, Count Dooku Thermal Detonators, and DBS 404 with Advanced Proton Torpedoes, DRK-1 Probe Droids, and Landing Strut. So 3-ship separatist list.
Now that's kind of like a classic. We've been seeing. We saw that one a lot.
The Composure is just an interesting choice, but yeah.
I'm afraid I'm gonna mess up my boosts. Will?
All right. After that is Paul Olson. We were talking about the other separatist squad in the cut here. They all are separatist drones. Those are the I-3 vultures with grappling struts. No independent calculations, relying on networked calculations. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. And then rounding out the squad is DGS 286. That's the HMP who likes to steal calculates when he engages with thread tracers, Kraken, and of course repulsor stabilizers. So not only can you hold Kraken calculates to guarantee the thread tracer is able to be shot, but you also then can get everybody tracer missiles. And remember Paula talking that. Really went back and forth on probe droids versus tracers, but in this iteration, it seemed to work out pretty good for him.
Then we have Josh Bartlett bringing our first iteration, our first showing up of the Galactic Republic. We have 2 Jedi Knights with calibrated laser targeting. Oddball in the Y-Wing. Oddball in the Y-Wing with Tirfon belly run, ion cannon turret, proton torpedoes, R4 astromech, and synchronized console. That is a thick oddball. And then Anakin Skywalker with Malice, Predator, synchronized console. That is the Eta 2 Anakin Skywalker there. So Tirfon belly run is a card that we haven't seen and really take any play, but I think the reason for taking it is with the new rules, the new obstacle rules, is an opportunity maybe to see some play here for Y-Wings. Reads, you can perform special attacks even while at range 0 of asteroids. While you defend, if you are at range 0 of an obstacle, attack dice cannot be re-rolled, so giving Oddball a little bit of defensive tech and maybe allowing it to go into spaces where other people normally would fear going. Let's keep
the thick Oddball.
It's oh my goodness. But hey, it worked out. You got to the top 16. We got to talk to Josh and be like, teach us the way of the Oddball, please. Right?
All right, we got Andrew Lippins running a somewhat emergent archetype within Resistance. I believe that is the Heralds of Hope Poe, Commander Poe, Jess Pava with M9G8, Red Squad Expert with R6D8, the friendly bullseyes give me a reroll droid, and then Kaz with R5. So it's the Kaz, the Expert with the Predator droid, Jess, and then Commander Poe. Very streamlined 4-ship resistance, just a different flavor of it that gets the I6 with the double action for more people, not just Poe every other turn.
Yeah, rerolls everywhere. What's up?
Quick question. So, when I was riding back on the taxi, I was watching a game between Andrew versus the FO Swarm.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
I was almost certain that Andrew beat the FO Swarm because I remember they. Or what? No, it was a different list. Never mind. He was flying the FO, not Swarm. He was. Yeah.
No, yeah.
There were 2 FO swarms of the exact same type in the top cut.
Okay, so it was a different one that was on screen.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Andrew did not win that game. He did not win versus that. A little bit of tough. No, I think Andrew did play against Sean. He did play.
Yeah, I thought it was the other way around. I thought that Andrew beat Sean.
It was a nail biter. It came close, but
we're pulling up the challenge bracket right now. We're gonna get to the bottom. We're gonna get to the bottom of this.
Do you recall for when you saw him on stream? Did he choose to M9G8 lock Poe or Kaz?
Kaz.
Started with Kaz,
and then Kaz died like in
the opening engagement.
Yeah.
Then he immediately locked Poe to get Poe rerolls. Then
sounds about right.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I might be wrong. I might be mixing up because it was after a flight and I was just like in and out.
No, I think you're right. The Resistance did win that, but we'll double check on him. I'll report back with that.
Yeah, we can go with the
bracket.
So the next one was Michael Xochimilco. Xochimilco with flying Dengar, Auto Blaster. I dare any of you to read his last name like that. Dengar with Auto Blaster, Greedo, Overtune Modulator. So that's interesting. Punishing 1 title, and R5P8, which is the re-roll droid. And then Fen Rao with Fearless and Old Turok with Fearless. So a 5-6-6 list here that hits relatively hard. Very cool.
And we have Joshua Miles with another Resistance. Go ahead.
Yeah, you can keep going. I there was a pause, so I was going to start it, but you're good.
All right. Joshua Mills with another resistance list. We have Poe Dameron, marksmanship, R4 astromech, overdrive thrusters integrated. This was the I'm not 100% sure. Is this the I think this was the trigger happy flyboy.
Yes, it's trigger happy
one.
flyboy Poe.
Yeah, trigger happy flyboy. Then we had Zori Bliss. We have a resistance Y-wing showing up here. R4 astromech, wartime loadout, proton torpedoes, and then Ray with the Falcon title. I believe we saw Joshua on stream early during a Swiss match. Zori unfortunately didn't do much in that match, if I'm remembering correctly. Ray did a lot of the work, but did a good job of not keeping the ships together, letting them. They're all pretty good independent of each other, as long as you're just not letting one out to dry. And of course, Ray is the hammer in that list, and Poe is the bait. All right. And then we have Wine and Court, the last of our top 16. Will?
Sorry, I just had to cough there. Anyways, cohort here, he has the Rebel Squadron. This is Hera with fire control system and jamming beam, and ion cannon, and stabilized S foils. We got Jake with marksmanship and proton rockets. Lieutenant Blount without any upgrades. Arvel with intimidation and predator. And rounding out the squad is AP5 with K2SO and the Phantom title for fun. So we've actually seen this archetype in one of our, I think it was actually Wayne flying it as well, in the Galactic series, and basically being able to just force feed Hera a lot of these actions between AP5, K2SO, things, and Jake. Then setting up Arvel with that intimidation. And we see another instance of ion cannons as well for a little bit of control. I think he was running Synced laser cannon before.
They switched over to ions.
Yeah, switched over to ions because you get the range 1. Being able to double tap those cannons with stabilized S foils at range 1, 2 4-dice attacks. So a thick B-wing out there. With a bunch of little support ships, support in quotation marks. So yeah, a beautiful just rebel salad out there.
All righty, and those were our top 16 lists. If you're listening or watching later on, we will include the link to the list fortress so you can take a look to your heart's content at the rest of the list, as well as the stats that Ryan put together. But I will say overall, my friends, I am really happy with how this event went. A lot of awesome games that came down to the wire on stream, list diversity, positive attitude about the upcoming changes, and we got to see some obstacles absolutely brutalize people, and it was entertaining. I'm not gonna lie.
Just one last thing. Yeah, I think we're just misremembering that matchup. The foes took it handedly. Sean did beat Andrew in that matchup.
I thought so. I thought so.
A lot of ships went down early, which is what I think we're remembering. But
the silencer popped in the opening, and then we were like, "Uh-oh."
Yeah, we're like, "Well, what can they do now?" And it turns out having Malorus rerolls all the time. And just having more, it was really just a race of red dice, and the FO just had more, basically.
One of the things that we commented on throughout the games was also starting to set our minds on the upcoming rules for bumping and some of the changes that are coming with the objectives and different scenario play. I would suggest if you haven't watched the games yet, if you're a Twitch subscriber, you can watch them now. YouTube fam, we're going to be getting those to Will to start putting up on YouTube here in the next couple days, and you should start seeing those roll out. It's a lot of games. It's 15 games, so you have plenty of content to get through. And it was interesting to think about what some of the positioning would be in the future, some of the consequences that we might have, and I'm looking forward to see what we get in the future. We're going to we're gonna do some closing statements here in a minute here, but we're gonna cut it off a little bit earlier today, just because I am super tired. And I have some family time that I gotta take care of. Yeah. So Marcel, how was your time at Las Vegas?
I'd say overall good. The first match was probably the least enjoyable one for things outside of my control.
Mm-hmm.
The opponent was great. It's just things played out in a certain way that it just made it less enjoyable. Not opponent's fault at all. The following 4 matches, I went 2-2 with the following 4 matches, ending 3-2, and I had a great time. I had in every really great opponents. I had a great time. Even in losing, it was very close games, and win or lose when they're close and the opponent is a good sport. It's gonna be fun, win or lose. So really great time. Great time in Vegas, I think, with the X-Wing people and just hanging out with you guys, hanging out with other people that I knew from before, or meeting new people that I met for the first time, or at least for the first time in person, was great. And big a lot of respect and a lot of love for Kayla, because for you, those of you who, a lot of you know, a lot of you don't know, we had our room broken into while we were sleeping in Vegas, and all in all, the people that broke in stole about $1,400, which would damper most people's spirits. And of course, we were kind of like busted up about it when we woke up and found out.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Kayla and I, that happened. That was from Saturday to Sunday. No, from Friday to Saturday. Yeah, from Friday to Saturday. And Kayla and I woke up and we're like, well, we can either be pouty about it, or just, it is what it is. And we still enjoyed the rest of the trip. I mean, we still went out on Saturday, had a good time, went casino hopping with Dion and the boys for the rest of Saturday night, and we had a great time. And again, Kayla, just between me and her, just choosing not to let that be the defining, not letting it be the defining moment of the trip. It's just something that happened. We said, well, just hawk it up to, maybe it was like a medical expense or something like that. Just think about it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So that was all good. And it was awesome seeing you guys. Wish Ryan would have been there. Would have been nice to see Ryan as well. But I think we're getting close to classic time, aren't we?
Go Squadron Classic time?
Yeah. Might be getting close to that time, maybe. Anyway, great time. Love seeing everyone.
Now I'm gonna bounce it to Ryan. Ryan, as an observer, I know you were probably in and out of streams. What was your thoughts on some of the competition, some of the lists, your overall feelings?
So to be 100% honest, I don't think I paid attention to streams as much as I did this weekend as ever in the past. Like
football.
No. I mean, like, this weekend, I paid more attention than I ever have had before.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Like, wouldn't be on my TV, but I'd be like, phone, Twitch, what's going on? Who's winning? How's it going? Who's doing what? Like, seeing how things were going way more often than I ever used to. And it's the first big one back. There's more people that I remember and know and miss there, and see how they're doing and how the games are going. Conversations in Discord. There's even the Carolina Creates Discord. They encouraged people to join up in a large chat room and just voice chat together while the games are going. So that was fun. Even people that weren't there were able to all talk amongst each other while the games were going, have a little bit of fun, side conversations, enjoy some beverages, so on and so forth. So it was from our perspective, or from my perspective, beyond taking care of my new little guy Ali, and making sure Mama's doing good and checking in on Twitch more often. It was very enjoyable to see it back on the table, and I hope yourself, Dion, and Will enjoyed your time. I'm pretty sure you'll go over this commentating and casting, and hope you didn't wear yourselves out too much. And Marcel, I hope you enjoyed your time with the Nash Swarm. I'm not sure your thoughts on continuing to use it in the future, if it was just kind of like, I'm using it for now, maybe try something else in the future.
Sensitive controls is amazing fun. I might try it on the silencers as well. It's just so much fun.
Yeah.
Will, what about you? How was your time?
Dion, I think other than a couple walks on the strip, I was pretty much with you all the time, Dion. So you know how my weekend went. But for everybody else, I had a great time. There was, and I don't. It's always weird to get so much praise for what we do, but it is really nice to hear all of that feedback and how it has like affected people and how it's kept them in the game and their community still going after all this time. It's really humbling, and like it really motivated me to try harder and to never give up, even if we're on 3-4 hours of sleep, eating just donuts for breakfast or whatever, just getting that extra push to press on and do the things we need to do and make sure everything runs smooth. So but beyond that, I mean, our time in Vegas, I had a great time meeting a bunch of new people. I mean, a lot of the people at the tournament are we'll say regulars, right? People we've known for years and stuff, but it was a chance for people who had always heard online about tournaments and things and conventions and whatnot. It was a chance for them to come out, and I was able to meet a lot of great people who I had an absolute blast with. Like I said, I think it was Saturday. I was just laughing so much and like screaming over the convention hall. I was starting to lose my voice, but yeah, I had an absolute amazing time, man. Could not complain at all.
Yeah, thank you to everybody who came up, said hi, had a good time, and looking forward to continuing these awesome in-person competitive streams. One of the things that excited me as well, we had a lot of regulars there, but there was also a lot of new faces, which is always exciting to see. One of the things that we had been talking about in the prep for LVO was there's a lot of X-Wing players that jumped on board during quarantine when there were no in-person events, and we're gonna sooner rather than later, we're going to start seeing more and more names that are new, that are new to the game start popping up. And I'm excited to see that evolution in the game and that new blood. And we're coming up on Adepticon, the Gold Squadron Grand Championship, where there is a very high likelihood that this will be the first premier event that has all of the new scenarios, all the new rules implemented, and it is going to be a ride. It is going to be a ride. Vegas, we'll see if the event happens again. We'll bring you that coverage. But it has been great. It has been great to see the people again. We were joking, Will. People were bringing their tribute to the Daimo. People were bringing us cards and things like that.
Yeah, it was fun.
And it was awesome because all that stuff goes into the GSP prize packs and the prizes that we ship out to people. And that's one of my favorite ways to, when people have these localized cards that they make for themselves, to be able to get them out to different people in the world. It's super fun. And I'm excited to see what comes of it. But yeah, it is going to be great. And I'm looking forward to the next in-person event. The next in-person event that we will be at, I believe, is going to be the Crossroads Classic. And it's not going to be as big as LVO. It's just the reality of the size of the place and stuff. But I expect it to be competitive because the Indiana crew is usually pretty competitive. So we'll see who else makes the drive out there. And then, of course, after that, we'll be live for Adepticon. So that should be a good time. I don't think I have anything else to say. Thanks for watching. Always split aces. Gold Squadron out.